Hey, what's up guys, it's ElasticSpyder here, and in today's video we're going to be looking at a community replay. And be sure to stay tuned because it's been a while for the Des Moines, and boy do we have a game in store for you guys. Alright ladies and gentlemen, we are into the replay now, and out of the double intro I guess, we are looking at a community replay as I stated, and we are featuring one from RepensumEstCanicula, but I'm just going to call you Repen. I think that's a lot easier both for myself and for everyone else, but that is who the replay is from. We are playing a tier 10 match in the Des Moines, of course, and then for the most part it's, well, very good matchmaking if I do say so myself. Besides the two Yamatos on the enemy team, that could be a big problem for us if they do decide to kind of push on us, on our side rather, and which basically means we just have to be a little bit more careful about our angling and about going bow in, since we can get overmatched. Now with that being said, this looks like it's a what do you call it, Clan Wars build, seeing that there is RPF on a Des Moines. It's typically pretty unusual, but for Clan Wars I guess it's a little bit more reasonable. And in the replay itself, or in the email itself rather, Repen did say that he is using Legendary Mod Des Moines, which by the way I recommend 100%, and then also AA mod instead of Dispersion. So it does not appear that he's running AFT, so likely concealment and what do you call it, RPF as we know, and then something like maybe Demo Expert, and then Superintendent for sure, but we don't know what that second perk is. Possibly Basics of Survivability, for example, and anything else like maybe Expert Marksman, and then also Adrenaline Rush, and we'll have to wait and see if he is actually using Priority Target, or maybe even that's something that is pretty popular, which would be Expert Loader. And honestly, Expert Loader on the Des Moines is pretty disgusting with a 5.5 second reload. Now, although I do recommend it on ships that have a slightly longer reload, something like the Zao or even like Stalingrad especially, those ships take, in my opinion, the most benefit from the Expert Loader perk, since they've got a decent, long enough reload where you can actually get it down quite substantially and still be very, very effective while choosing the right ammo type, because most of the time in those ships that ammo type selection is crucial. So we can still see, wow, 14 kilometers. AP Des Moines is disgusting against Yamatos, but you gotta be sure you're shooting at the right areas. As you can see, we went from a 7.5 to a 4K to an 8K to a 2K, so it does kind of vary quite a bit, but as long as you're hitting the right spots, 6,000 damage, look at that beauty. And we're already up to nearly well, we just surpassed the 50K mark just by farming this Yamato a little bit. And that's the beauty of the Des Moines. And when you're putting shells out every 5.5 seconds, this is not fun for the Yamato. What is even the point of using something like high explosive and even reload mod when you've got reloads like this and the legendary mod that is just absolutely amazing. Speaking of the legendary mod, we haven't seen much of it in the early stages here, but certainly we should see it a little bit later. And boy, it is something that is, if you want to accelerate on a dime like the British cruisers do, certainly you will love the Des Moines legendary mod. Not only that is, it also increases indirect survivability. Now, for those of you that are like, well, what's that? All I see is survivability on my ships. For the Des Moines, it's 50,600 HP. But what I'm talking about is indirect survivability, so stuff that you will not be able to look at. And oh Jesus, we saw that the RPF was coming, but we did not expect this Worcester to come in this close, especially when he knows that there's a Des Moines on this side. This is definitely a mistake for this Worcester. We just got to be able to aim low enough and make sure our turrets can turn quick enough. But as long as we do those things, this Worcester will get wrecked. And with the legendary mod, we should be able to accelerate quickly if he does decide to switch to AP and take our broadside. Luckily, though, we do finish him off with 5 citadels there. Oh my lord. How crazy is that? And like I said, with the legendary mod, we were able to accelerate rather quickly, so that Worcester could not get around us. And, well, we're already up to 140,000 damage within the first 6 minutes of the battle. And, oh boy, this should be an exciting replay. So where was I? Where was I? What was I talking about? It's just completely blank from my mind. Oh, indirect survivability. So indirect survivability, basically, when you use the legendary mod on the Des Moines, you gain a whole lot of indirect survivability, and it's more of a, you can't really put a number on it. It's more of just, it's just an idea, I guess, is the best way that I can describe it. It's, you don't gain actual HP through indirect survivability, but since you are able to dodge shells much easier, and mitigate a lot more damage that way, you do increase your survivability, like I said, indirectly. It's not a direct buff like something like the perk Survivability Expert, where you actually gain 300 more HP or 350 more HP per tier. It's not like that at all. It's more of, you just don't get hit, and that boosts your survivability. So, Minotaur here, we're going to be just spamming HE at him. It's probably the best situation in this case because he is so angled, but at any point does he decide to switch to try and get his torps off, certainly we will be punishing him very quickly. Now, one thing I'd just like to mention here, and it looks like it's a little bit saturated, you see Repen do that there, is shooting bows on ships is sometimes way more overlooked than most people think. And, well, hopefully this Minotaur will die before the torps come off. That should kill him. And now we should probably go forward, and because we're on the border, will we actually evade that one torpedo? Oh boy, is it gonna go? Ah, we do get hit by it. Luckily, it was only one. But if more did come, then potentially it could have been a problem. Although through saturation, we might have been fine. But unfortunately, we just couldn't get our engines going there. I guess for some reason, the Des Moines Legendary mod does not work on the border. But yeah, nonetheless, it's still a great idea to run this Legendary mod. And it's just so much fun being able to accelerate at the speed of a British light cruiser. But yeah, shooting at the bow is just one of those things that is just, in my opinion, one of the most underutilized tactics in World of Warships. Personal tactics, that is. Because for the most part, if you're using a 203mm cruiser, you can pretty much pen almost any bow in the game except for the likes of German battleships, and I'm sure I'm missing a few here and there, maybe like Moskva and Stalingrad. But for the most part, you can pen pretty much any battleship's bow, any cruiser's bow, and it's just a good way to get nice, easy damage. Now, with that being said, you do have things like saturation, and that does limit the capabilities of your ability to shoot at the bow, but also how much damage you get out of it. And, you know, at the end of the day, hitting the bow at 10+ kilometers is can be quite challenging for a lot of people. I know sometimes it is for me, especially if the ship is moving quite a bit. But at that point, it does kind of come down to knowing your ship, and also working on your aim and making sure it's nicely fine-tuned. Nonetheless, though, we've kind of rolled this side. Rolled, I guess that's in quotation marks. And then our Le Terrible has managed to go to the enemy C cap, or their base cap, and cap that, while the enemy team is kind of still stuck in A. And our team, I must say, has done quite a good job at kind of holding them off. Although it does look like we took three casualties in basically, what is that, D2, one grid square. So I guess that's a bit unfortunate, but at the end of the day, it's, you know, you have to take your losses with your wins, and at the moment it looks like we've come out on top for this one. So I'm going to speed this up here just a little bit, just so I'm not rambling on and talking nonsense for the rest of this match. So I'm going to speed this up. Alright, so now that we have at least one ship in range, this Yamato, we're going to be using some AP on him. And I just want to mention that the AP is good at this range, but a lot of times with the poor shell arcs, it is very hard to hit that very specific spot on things like a Yamato, so and just other ships in general. So for the most part, I would recommend shooting HE outside of 12 kilometers. And especially, it depends also if the target is wiggling like this Yamato is, and how fast he's moving, that sort of thing. How much broadside, of course, that's the typical one. But for the most part, just stick to HE. You get the nice fire damage as well. So, but I mean, obviously, certainly you can get those very nice salvos like we were seeing earlier on that first Yamato, and boy, 8,000 damage every 5.5 seconds. I guess we should take more of the average and do something like 5.5, maybe 6,000 as the average every 5.5 seconds. Boy, that is disgusting. So this Yamato's taking torpedoes like a noob, but somehow he lives. I guess they are low yang torps, they don't do much damage. And oh, speaking of that overmatch, although I don't think that was much of an overmatch, it was just pure pens. It does manage to do quite significant damage to us. Henri, he's not looking too good at the moment, but we do have to lead a little bit more for the Henri. That is one troublesome thing about the fighting against an Henri, is knowing exactly where to aim. I know everyone always knows that you have to add a little bit extra, but it's always how much, because that thing can stop rather quickly, like the Des Moines can. And surely it is just another nuisance in the game. I don't know if it's a good nuisance or a bad nuisance, but it is a nuisance nonetheless. Fighting Henris is just not fun. So this is still perfectly throwable with this Henri. Well, I guess the Henri is quite low. Maybe if he was closer to half HP or even a quarter HP, this could be very, very interesting. But with the Bismarck and 2 DDs, really all our DDs have to do at this point is just run away. And then at that point, it's GG. And even if they didn't, even if Repen died here, I don't think that the enemy team would be able to come back with this big point deficit. Right, so looking at the post-battle results here, we're looking at 240k, and that basically half our damage came in the first 6 minutes. And I guess between the point when we started firing and by the time we finished at about 140k damage, it was maybe in a span of like 3 minutes, 2.5, 3 minutes, something like that. And it's just crazy DPM that the Des Moines can bolster, and it is just amazing. And that's one of the reasons why it's still one of my favorite tier 10 ships. Dreadnought, high caliber, almost got a crack in there. Maybe if we had a little bit more time, but 12 Citadels, that Worcester got punished. That is an understatement, honestly. But a very, very nice overall replay here. Let's look at the team score. So team score wise, we did manage 3,131, I guess 3131 base XP, kind of interesting number, I suppose. And then 4 ships killed, as I mentioned earlier, topping our team by nearly 1,000 base XP. And yeah, that is the power of the Des Moines in a nutshell. And gosh, if there was a carrier in the game, we got maybe 10 planes shot down, this could easily be a 3,200-ish base XP. 3,500 base XP game if we had a few planes shot down. Because plane XP is just ridiculous, and it's been that way for a while. So, but very nice game to Mr. Repen there. And again, I am a little jelly because I love seeing good Des Moines replays. And boy, your first 6 minutes of this match was it was a bit silly, but it was also very well done, and utilizing a position that not many people, I would say, and I guess myself is included, using that wider location. So I guess who knew that the Des Moines could be that wide flanking ship? Nonetheless, I hope you did enjoy this community replay, and I forgot to mention in the intro, be sure to send your community replays to BIAworldofwarships@gmail.com, and please include the screenshots, the replay itself, and a rather short description of what occurred throughout the battle. So, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.